This is Chris with P2TK9. Yes, it is a K9 based channel. No, this is not a K9 based video. The title is correct. The title, MOA Shooting Cheat Code. This is something that I wanted to put out, but I didn't want to start an entirely separate channel to do it. So for those of you who are here for dog content, I know a lot of you shoot as well, so maybe you'll get something out of this. And for those of you who are here for the title of MOA Cheat Code, then you are looking at the right video. So getting right into it, MOA versus milliradian shooting. This video is not to discuss one over the other, the benefits, the cons, any of that. I was MOA shooting in the 90s prior to the GWAT, so I had already kind of been indoctrinated into MOA rifle shooting with all of my classes and training and most of the optics available in the mid 90s and beyond. Hi, baby. So that's why I was already into the MOA shooting. Then after the GWAT, all of my interaction with the GWAT and training and the introduction of me anyway to the milliradian shooting, I was just already pretty deep into MOA. And so I've stuck with it over the years and I still prefer it. So with that in mind, what is the cheat code to help people understand it a little bit better? The first thing is most people are going to tell you one MOA is 1 inch at 100 yards, which is mostly true. It is actually just slightly higher than that. And when people say it's 1 at 100, 2 at 200, 3 at 300, 4 at 400, they're not wrong, but it's not as accurate as it could be. And nowadays, when you look at the internet and all of the military-based shooting that has gone into the competitive side of things, where now ELR matches, precision rifle series, things like that are really catching fire. You can be more accurate because now people are shooting at longer distances much more frequently than they were when I first went to the police academy pre-GWAT back in '94 and started rifle shooting and rifle training. So with that in mind, at 500, 600, certainly 700 yards, if you don't add in what actually is the exact MOA measurement, then you're leaving a little bit on the table and you can create an error. So MOA is actually 1.047 inches in modern math. Normal math, if we round that and we drop that to 2 digits, then it's going to bring that to 1.05 inches. So when people say one MOA at 1,000 yards is 10 inches, that's actually not as correct. It's not an exact measurement. So not only when you look at MOA as the standard of accuracy in the shooting world, even for people who shoot milliradian scopes and have their firing solutions and corrections done in milliradians, the fact that you're saying, okay, at 1,000 yards, my one MOA accuracy is 10 inches, you actually leave a little bit on the table. Not a ton, but now that people are shooting 2,000 yards and beyond, that really starts to add up, and you need to be aware of that. Second piece of this is when you're shooting MOA, and even I found for some milliradian shooters, when you are spotting your impacts and you're trying to make corrections, sometimes people aren't fully aware of, if I turn my scope 1 or 2 or 3 clicks, what am I going to get at a given distance? So the thing that's going to be your MOA cheat code, that is the baseline bottom line of this video, is how do you handle those measurements on the fly mentally and make it a little bit more digestible for most people. 1.05. The neat thing is measurements in inches can be tracked the same way money is tracked. You can have a whole number, a decimal, and you can have tenths and thousandths all the way up to your next whole number. So when we're talking about an MOA, let's call one MOA $1 and a nickel. So actually one MOA, as rounded off, is going to be 1.05 inches or $1 and a nickel. Now your multiplier is going to be the range that you're shooting at, whether that be 100, 200, 300, 400, and so on. So real quick, we'll call it 500 yards is the distance that we're shooting at. So that's our multiplier. Super simple. What do we actually have for one MOA at 500 yards? It is going to be $5.25. The neat thing is with this cheat code, most people can run this math in their head because you deal with money frequently. The numbers line up. You can track it the same way. So at 500 yards, it's actually going to be 5.25 or $5.25 at 500 yards. This works all the way through any multiplier. If you're shooting at 3,000 yards, it's exactly the same. You're just going to use $1 and a nickel, and then you're going to use the distance that you're shooting at to add up all of your dollars and nickels to come up with a more accurate number of what your minute of angle measurement actually is at that given distance. The other piece we're going to deal with is what does my scope do when I turn one click at a given distance. So we are going to look at this the exact same way. We are going to, and I know I just talked about accuracy being key. You can go back and add that in if you want to, but we're still going to look at it in the discussion of money. So with your MOA scopes, marker's giving out. Your scopes adjust at a 1/4 inch click at 100 yards. So now we're going to think about that as a quarter, as a 25-cent piece. Everybody watching this, most likely, has gone to a drive-up self-serve car wash with the wand and the brush. You go around to the front of the building where you check your controls first, and you look and you say, oh, this car wash requires $1.50 to begin, and then you can buy extra time, or it's a $2 car wash. Whatever the case may be, I go to the front of the building, pull out my money, and I hit the bill changer, and now I know how many quarters I need to go around there and start the car wash. What does that have to do with MOA shooting? That's a great question. The point being, you can handle the math of quarters pretty easily. You know that if this is a $2 car wash, I'm going to have to go around front and put in at least $2 and come up with 8 quarters to run a $2 car wash. We're going to do the same thing with our shooting. If we're shooting at 500 yards, whatever distance we're shooting at is going to be our multiplier. What does 5 quarters amount to? $1.25. And because we can track money and measurement in inches the exact same way, if I am shooting at 500 yards and I have an MOA scope with MOA turrets, if I spot my impact, I know that one click is going to move me 1.25 inches. Now, if you go back and you look, oh, you just said that if we round it off evenly, that one MOA is 1.05 inches. You're correct. So we are leaving a little bit out there when we use our cheat code in order to decide what one click will do at any given distance. I want to say that a single click, including the 0.05, is 27 or 28 cents, something like that. However, if we're going to use our cheat code math, we're going to use the 0.25, the 1/4 inch at 100, and then use the distance that we're shooting at as our multiplier. And thinking about it mentally in quarters, you don't have to pull your phone out or a ballistic calculator. I'm shooting at 800 yards. So 8 times quarters, $2, 2 inches. If I'm shooting at 800 yards and I see my impact and I need to move that onto steel, if I see it splash in the dirt and I've hung my target pretty low to the dirt, okay, if I turn one click, that's 2 inches. If I turn 2 clicks, that's 4 inches. So this is your cheat code in order to know what corrections you're making with your elevation adjustments at distance. Because I've noticed even with family members and friends that I shoot with, some of them are just guessing and they don't really understand how to make some finite adjustments with their scope out at distance. So I hope this cheat code helps. $1 and a nickel is one MOA. Your multiplier is the distance that you're shooting at. One click of an MOA turret is 25 cents, and you need to multiply that or use as your multiplier whatever distance that you're shooting at. There is your MOA cheat code. I hope that helps you. It works for me. Thanks for watching.